Hi, everyone. I think you are trickling in from the waiting room. We'll get started here in just a second. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for spending part of your lunch break with us. Today's conversation is all about how to be a great associate, not just in theory, but in practice. Our goal is to offer advice that's genuinely useful as you navigate the challenges and opportunities of this stage of your legal career. Throughout the panel, feel free to enter any questions you have in the Q&A box. We'll try to get to as many as we can, time permitting. Towards the end of the panel, we will place the CLE course number in the chat. And with that, to welcome our panelists, Atusa Dale is a partner at Winston Strawn, where she focuses on patent litigation and complex disputes. Allison Rubio is a corporate and transactional partner at Vela, Wood, Staley, and Young, and she represents clients ranging from startups to public companies. And Hayden Schotlander is a partner at Perkins Coie, where he specializes in data privacy, free speech, and issues technology companies face in our modern world. Welcome all. We are going to dive right in. And to start us off, I'd like to talk about the kind of advice that tends to come up again and again. The guidance that partners find themselves giving to associates most often across practice areas, experience levels, and situations. So, what advice do you typically give associates?
I'm happy to start this one, if that's okay with everybody. So I rinse, reuse, and recycle advice that I got when I was starting out. I always ask the partners at my first job in Big Law, some of the senior associates who were, the stellar standout attorneys, and the partners who, were managing the office, managing practice groups. I always asked them what they did when they were starting out to be successful, and I got the same advice from them all the time. The first piece of advice was just put your head down and work really hard for a couple of years. It's just important to get the reps in to understand what you're doing and getting comfortable with material. So I always tell people, work as much as you can, say no selectively to assignments, and just really invest that time early on to learn as much as you can the first couple of years. And on that same wavelength is work with as many partners and senior associates as you can, because everybody's got a slightly different working style, different preferences. They may work with different clients or in slightly different practices, and it's great to see how people work so that you can learn what works for you, how to manage different personalities, how to manage different clients, things you can do to help everybody out. And then the third piece of advice is to treat your seniors and the partners like your client. Often, as a junior associate, you're not going to be having a lot of client contact. So you really want to kind of treat your senior associates and partners as your client who are going to be assigning you work, being your mentors, investing time in you. And I think those three pieces of advice have always really held true to me, and I give them to every associate that I work with coming in, law clerks, all of it. And it's never steered me wrong.
I think one thing I would add is that I was really, really bad at when I first became a lawyer. I came in and I thought I was just like God's gift to lawyering. Like every piece of work product, I was like, this is a game changer. Like this is they're gonna use this one as the model going forward. And then like I would just get the feedback from the partner. I mean, like literally none of it would get through to get the client wouldn't see it. It would never get filed. And I was like devastated. Like I would go home and tell my girlfriend at the time, I was like, I'm the worst person at this job ever. And also I'm working with incompetent lawyers because if they don't see and recognize greatness, yeah, it's on them. Um, and so I was really, really bad at receiving feedback, and like partners would call me into their office and they'd be like, you can't say this in federal court, or like that's wildly unprofessional, or whatever it might be. And I wouldn't argue, but it was pretty clear I was like pretty unhappy with what they were saying in this conversation. And I think I've matured a tiny bit since then and really come to realize that corrective feedback is like a huge gift and a huge investment of time from more senior lawyers, and especially from if you receive feedback from a client, that's like worth so much, and they're taking a ton of time to fix something for you instead of just firing you and hiring somebody else. Likewise, a partner investing time to make you a better lawyer or a better writer or whatever, instead of just saying like thanks so much for the work and then never working with you again. It's like it. Don't take it negatively, and don't take it personally. You should really, I think, value both corrective and positive feedback that you're receiving from supervisors. So I think that's my one ad.
I don't have anything else to add. I thought that was all super helpful.
Right on. I know we'll get to you, Atusa. So thank you all for that advice. I think it gives a strong sense of what partners are hoping to see for associates across the board. I like to flip the perspective a little bit. Just like there are things that partners encourage, there are also patterns they notice when things don't go as well. So let's talk about the most common mistakes you see associates make, and then we'll talk about how associates should respond when they make a mistake.
I can kind of chime off of what Hayden was just talking about. I think what I see that is that sets apart the people that start to succeed and the people that don't are the ones that can take feedback very well. That's probably, I think, the biggest thing is not understanding that feedback is not it's not personal. It's not an attack on you. It's not an attack on Hayden is they don't think Hayden is not a great attorney. They're giving him feedback because they think that he has the potential to become better. And so what has made me succeed, I think, and probably everybody on this call succeed, is being able to take the feedback and being able to grow and be able to learn and actually, you know, instead of just fixing whatever you're being told to fix, ask the questions. Well, why is this better? And not in a, defensive way, just be like, I need to understand, which I did do a lot of that. Like, hey, why don't we say that? I just want to learn. And when you kind of understand the why and take the time to make yourself better, then you kind of learn what courts are looking for, what partners are looking for. So I think the thing that's the biggest mistake is thinking you know better and taking things personally when really they're not personal at all. They're just to make you a better lawyer.
Another really common mistake I see is junior associates think that their job is to like take in as much work as possible and then spit it and turn it as fast as possible, because the goal of a junior associate is to do as much as possible, and your output should be like crazy high and your efficiency should be crazy high. And so all the time I see junior associates, like a source of many junior associate problems is they are trying to do too much for their level in too short a period of time. And they really should have been balancing their workload much differently, because they don't know how long things will take them to actually accomplish. And they aren't giving themselves the grace basically to know that they will have to fix things on the first draft they turn in. So at least in litigation, it's like your assignment might be produce a memo about XYZ, and you think, okay, I can get that done in 10 hours, and you spread that across 2 days. And then you take on another project and say, I can finish that by Thursday, knowing that you're going to start that on Wednesday. When in reality, you're going to turn in the first thing, which did take you 10 hours, but then you're going to instantly get feedback back to correct. And now this sort of thing starts snowballing, and your work product will sort of rapidly decline because now you have competing deadlines and you're going to disappoint some people. So the time management and in what you should take on and how long realistically that will take you is a constant challenge that everybody will continue to have even as a partner, but really, really severe for junior associates. And so whatever you think it's going to take you, I would like double that and count on additional many, many rounds of revisions.
I think one other thing to add, these have all been very great points. kind of to Atus's point about the feedback and Hayden earlier, in a post-COVID world where there's a lot of remote work, it's a little bit more difficult to have the direct feedback sometimes, in terms of, incorporating comments and changes. Or if you're working with someone in a different office. Pre-COVID, we were all in the office all the time, and partners were giving you their hand markups, and I was running them. And I'm a corporate lawyer, so it's a little bit different for litigation, but I think the comment, process is probably still the same. And when someone handed you that, you could sit down and talk to them and flip through the pages. And now we've kind of gone away from that. And I do think I've seen some impact on associate development, because we're running, red lines on Adobe or Litera or whatever it is that you use. And so you really have to take the initiative to go through and look at those red lines and changes, understand what is being changed. If you have questions, ask why, because it's a little bit more labor intensive than it used to be to review feedback and really see those changes. So that's one thing I would definitely add to that. And on Hayden's point about workload, everybody understands, that associates get loaded up. And I think it's totally fair to go to partners and say, hey, I've got these three things. Like, can we talk about priorities a little bit? Because sometimes what you think is the first level priority really isn't. And that can really help you avoid a lot of, 2 and 3 a.m. nights and really late nights working because you think everything has to get done that day. It may make your work product a little better if you've got extra time.
That's all great. And I think mistakes are inevitable. They're human. And so when an associate realizes they've made a mistake, what's the best way for them to handle it to rebuild trust or momentum?
Um, I think I kind of touched on this a little bit, but so actually listen and take in the feedback. Don't just make the change just because I asked you to. And also, I mean, defer to your partners, but also if you have a little bit of pushback, I do want to hear it. I just want to be able to hear why. Like if you're saying I don't want to change it because I don't like the way you're doing it, that's probably not appropriate. But if you're saying, I don't know if we should say this given this case law, that's something I want to hear, right? Maybe there's some case that I didn't know about that really I should be addressing and I'm not aware of it. Or maybe I am aware of it and I can explain to you why we're okay. The other thing I would say is if you make a mistake, and I was taught this at a young age, is most people can fix mistakes. Most people senior to you can fix the mistake. But anytime I made a mistake, I made sure as quickly as possible, identify the mistake, identify a potential route to fix it, some ideas, and I immediately told the partner or senior associate what the mistake was, take complete responsibility for it, and a proposed plan to fix it, because then it looks like you've taken in some thought and you're not just saying, here's this problem, fix it for me. And so I think my partners have always appreciated when I did that. And I was always told, if you think you've made a mistake, your partners have probably made bigger ones in the past. And I like to tell junior associates that too. I've produced documents that I was specifically told this is privilege, make sure we don't produce it. And I produced it. So like, I mean, and I'm here, right? I'm still here today. I didn't get fired over it, but I what sets me apart maybe from somebody else is I made sure to say, hey, I accidentally did do it. I know you told me not to, but here's how we're going to fix it. So I think that's the most important thing you can do when there's a mistake.
Nothing to add. Completely agree. Yeah. Don't like lose your mind. I follow all the Reddit, like our Big Law, our Lawyer Talk, like all those, and associates are posting all the time. Like I've made this catastrophic error. Is my career over? And I have yet to see one where I was like, oh yeah, you're cooked. Like they're all like very, very benign. We all make mistakes like constantly. That's don't like go into the partner's office and be like, haha, so funny. Like I produced a tranche of privileged documents. Can you want to go to lunch?
Yeah.
Take it seriously for sure. but also it's not like just don't think it's going to ruin your career or your career progression, because it's extremely, extremely normal for things like that to happen. That doesn't even like producing privileged documents like that. I there wouldn't even be a sit down conversation with an associate like do better next time. I'm so disappointed or anything like that, because it like that stuff happens in litigation. And I once you've done the mistake once, I bet you're not going to do it a second time. You don't have to tell somebody that. It's not that huge a deal.
Yeah, I did think that my career was over when that happened, and I've come to now learn that my career is not going to be over because I accidentally produced a privileged document. But I do remember that feeling exactly when I figured it out, especially because I was told make sure this document doesn't get produced. It's very bad. So, so anyway, but it's all fine.
Turning from the general to the more specific, how have you seen associates improve and take meaningful steps of growth in particular or general ways?
I can, sorry, I'm talking, I feel like I'm hogging a lot, but I can talk about a specific writing success story. So, there was someone who I was working with who I thought had a lot of potential, but started having some writing work product for briefs and stuff like that, that I just was not happy with. I did not think it was at the level that that person should be at. Um, but this is touching back on everything I think the three of us have been saying. We communicated to this person and said, hey, we think you can do better. Here are the issues. You need to fix them. And this person took it to heart. I mean, he realized it. He didn't blame anybody. He wasn't defensive. He just did it. And now it's somebody who I'm always going to work with, because this is someone who knows how to take feedback, and no one cares if you produce some bad briefs your first year as a lawyer. I mean, it's not going to affect you the rest of your life. It actually is more meaningful to me that this is someone who can learn and grow and show that they have the ability to figure things out. So don't be discouraged by that feedback, and don't feel like you can't make it. Just take the feedback as what it is and learn from it, and you can improve. So, most of the time, no one's going to remember what happened to you, you know, in the first couple of years as a lawyer.
Allison, I can chime in too.
Sure. So for me, I do deals. So it's a little bit different from litigation, but deal process is pretty much the same. Depending on what you're doing, but for the most part, an M&A deal is an M&A deal. Financing is a financing. So what I always, like to tell junior associates is you're gonna get a couple reps into your belt doing, very basic work. Observe, watch what people are doing, try to see where you can add value in process, especially early on. You may not be able to help with as much substantive heavy lifting, but process organization are really important. And once you start getting those things, you start getting a little bit more comfortable. You aren't thinking so much about that, so you're able to digest substance, especially when you've seen it. And so each deal, try to bite off a little bit more and take a little bit more ownership. Talk to the mid levels, the seniors, the partners. Say, I've seen this a couple times. I'd love to take a stab at drafting X, Y, or Z. And that's always so helpful because it shows us that you have the initiative. You want to progress. It communicates, to me that you're ready for more. And it helps me know that it's time to invest, in the next kind of threshold level of associate development. So I think just taking a lot of initiative and ownership over things. Once you've kind of seen it once or twice, things should just kind of become unspoken. You're going to update a checklist. You're going to be saving the documents. You're going to be running red lines and just kind of raising your hand, hopefully preemptively. And that's really a way that associates add value and start taking ownership.
Great. Thank you both. And I think, of course, not every part of being an associate feels productive or rewarding. Sometimes associates find themselves in frustrating situations, doing mostly tedious work, not getting recognition or feeling shut out from the rooms where decisions are happening. When that happens, what's the best way to navigate those situations while still staying on the right path?
This might not be directly responsive, but one the way that these are all super contextual. Like, I'm doing this kind of work and I think I should be doing this, or I'm not getting to interact with this type of person and I think I should be, or I'm this level and I'm not getting to delegate work. Like whatever that situation might be is super dependent on the practice group, the firm, the type of clients you work with, where you are in your career, how you're perceived at the firm, like just so many variables that I think my real advice here would be, I have associates kind of around the country at the firm who have asked to set up like routine one-on-ones where and I do this also with other partners, and I have done this for many years with partners very senior to me, where we get on the phone either every single week for 30 minutes or an hour, or every other week. And we talk about if there are like interpersonal issues, if there are work product questions I might have. And these are not people that I work with routinely. They're bringing issues that they might have with somebody else, another associate, another partner, a client, or that I bring to other partners and say, hey, I thought this other partner was like kind of mean to me. Like, look at this email. What do you think? How do you think I should respond? And I found that super, super helpful in multiple ways. I think I get really level-headed advice, or I try to give good advice about how to navigate a situation. I think it sent a perception when I was an associate to the partners that I was working with that like, hey, I really care, and I'm thinking about sort of all these career long issues. I think my attitude totally changed, and it made me a much more patient person because I would hold things to discuss in these meetings. So my advice would be try and find a partner that you really respect at the firm, and just reach out and say like, will you meet with me on a regular basis? And even if you don't have anything to talk about, we get on the phone and like I talk sometimes to associates about personal finance, like where are they storing their money and will they ever be able to leave Big Law? We talk about buying a home or growing your family and how to navigate becoming a new parent. Like whatever you want to talk about in that time, it's been super, super helpful. And last thing, sorry, when I say find a partner that you respect and reach out to do the one-on-one, that does not mean like find the partner with the biggest book or like the most powerful partner. That doesn't need to be like who you respect at the firm. Like the partners that I respect align with my personal values, right? Like their relationship to work and work-life balance matters a lot to who I choose to interact with. How they treat people matters a lot in terms of how I respect them and who I want to get advice from. So think about all those things when you're looking through your little website to figure out who you want to reach out to do the one-on-one. And I promise that partner is going to be honored that you've asked them, or that you're going to trust their advice. So yeah, just do it.
I think another thing that's helpful in those situations is to kind of look around and be aware of what's normal. Because it may be that, there's no other first year that's going to client meetings, which is pretty common. I wouldn't normally see a first year associate in, big in-person meetings. See who's on calls and see really if kind of your perception is that you're just frustrated that you're not participating, or that somehow you're missing out on opportunities, because that's very important. But you can always ask partners to join calls, especially, when you're not on Zoom and no one sees it. Offer to have your time billed at zero, so that you are not, incurring costs to the client. Those things are always really helpful, to kind of start seeing how people are interacting, seeing, kind of how everybody's communication skills are on negotiations, how people handle depositions, those kinds of things. But understanding a lot of people are very cost conscious, so you don't want to have 6 billing attorneys on every call or in every meeting or deposition. So those are things I think that are incredibly important to be mindful of. And if you do see that your classmates are getting opportunities you're not, figure out who to talk to about it, and make sure that you're seeking out those opportunities, so that you're on the same track as other people your class year.
Also,
I
if
would,
anybody has questions as we're going, we can use the Q&A thing, right, Bobby?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah, please, like anything, any questions or anything dumb you think we've said, totally ask us and we can we'll walk back the dumb thing that we said.
or double down. I
Or double down, that's
don't-
right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Um, I would also just add, so this job sometimes lends itself to favoritism. There's people that will be favorites, and it can be really hard, and I want to, like, I empathize with that. That's really difficult when you see somebody maybe getting a bunch of opportunities that you want. And I'm not saying this like in a tough love way, and it may sound like it, but that is life. Like that just happens. People sometimes get opportunities just because they have some sort of connection with that person. But it also kind of goes back to what Allison said at the beginning. If you keep your head down and work really hard, those opportunities will start to come to you. Um, and I as much as it's frustrating to see somebody getting the things you want to do, they will come to you one day. And I just what I would say is make sure you're happy with the work you're doing, make sure you're enjoying the type of work, make sure you're getting, like, you feel like you're getting some respect as like a human being. And otherwise, just I would not I would not let yourself focus on that too much, because that's just life. People just get opportunities that you may want, and you don't get to get it because of some sort of thing that's out of your control. But it's okay, because that opens the door for you to get other opportunities that you have time for, because you're not doing that other thing. And so um I would try not to stress too much about those types of things, and realize that you will, like, the time will come for you. So anyway, I just want to give some encouragement, because I remember feeling that way sometimes when I was younger. And um I love what I do. I love the types of cases I do, and I love the opportunities I'm getting now, even if I felt like, oh, why am I not getting those at a younger age? If you're just patient and work really hard, it'll eventually come to you.
Those are great thoughts on how to handle those tough experiences constructively. Shifting topics, we often hear people refer to junior, mid-level, and senior associates. And while those categories can be helpful, they don't always capture the complexity of someone's experience, responsibilities, or growth trajectory. That said, there are meaningful shifts that tend to happen as associates gain more experience. How do you think an associate's mindset or approach to the job should change as they progress, even if the lines between stages aren't always so clear?
Bobby, wait, can I answer this Q&A question first? Is that cheating?
Go for it. I missed it. So yes, please do.
What do you even do? What are you adding here, Bobby? I mean, come
I,
on.
I don't know. Like ChatGPT, which we could get to, could replace me.
Yeah.
I'll read the question out, and then
No,
you
no,
can
no,
take
no,
it
no.
from there.
I got it. I got it. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Okay. Yeah. Griffin said, how long did it take you to find your footing and feel confident as an attorney? And I just wanted to, my anecdote is, I think you get confident at the things that you've done like multiple times. And so like, I feel very confident taking deps or something like that now, or drafting briefs. But I still don't feel very confident in lots of things that I don't get to do very often. I had a settlement agreement that I was negotiating yesterday, and they wanted to do something that I've never seen before, and I have to email other lawyers all the time and say, "Is this even a thing? Like, I've literally never heard of this, and is this illegal? Am I going to go to prison if I do this? Like all that kind of stuff." So I would say there are times throughout every day throughout my entire career where I feel very confident, and there are still times every day where I feel very not confident. And I don't think there will ever, if there's ever a day where I'm just like confident about everything I'm doing, I think I'd leave the firm. That sounds super boring or sterile.
I had
Um,
a, oh,
oh, you go ahead,
sorry.
Allison.
I was just gonna, I had a real tangible moment where I felt like I had my footing. And it was right as I felt like I was sinking. I was working on a deal, and I think it was it was over the summer, and I think it was into my second or about a first full year practice. My senior associate was on a trip to Southeast Asia, and we were on a deal, and he was my lifeline. He ran everything, and he was like, "I'm gone for 3 weeks. You can only, the between the time difference, there were very few hours I could talk to him during the day." So I was just kind of left on my own, and I had watched him and I had learned how he worked, and it was the Mr. Miyagi kind of thing. And you just realize that I could kind of do a lot more than I thought, and I was scared to death. And every day, when I was logging off, I'd send him an email of where things are, so that when I woke up, I had a chance to communicate with him. And I remember just that entire time he was on vacation was so hard and so stressful. And it was just me and the partner. It was a complicated deal. And it was so difficult. And then as soon as it was over, I realized how much I had really learned, and how well I had done given the circumstances. So I think there's probably about a year in, you're going to kind of tick up a level, and you're going to realize that you've really put in a lot of good work, and you're very good at your year one level. And once you kind of get that, your confidence will start to skyrocket, and you will realize what the hard work was for. You'll realize that you're capable of learning, that you're ticking up, and it's just the process works. It just takes a little bit of time.
I remember before I started, someone who I went to law school with told me, and he was at the firm that I was planning to go to. He told me there's gonna be like 6 to 8 months where you're really stressed out all the time because you just don't know what you don't know. And so you're just constantly panicked because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who to ask. I don't know what I'm supposed to know. And for me, he was absolutely right. And it was about 6 to 8 months in that I was like, okay, I at least know who to ask questions to. I know what I'm supposed to know. And so that it's kind of like what Allison was saying. I got to a level of like, okay, I feel a little bit more confident about who to ask questions. And then I think it was about 5 to 6 years in for me that I felt like I could get a question and I could figure out whether I needed to go send that off to somebody, if that's something I could figure out, if I was like, absolutely, we can't do, like, I can't do that. You need to find some other expert. Like, I got a better sense of what I did know and didn't know. And then I completely agree with Hayden that the most exciting thing about this job is learning stuff that I've never done before. And then also, it's also fun to be able to confidently do the things that you feel like you've started to master, and you just continue to make better and improve in smaller ways. So, but what I will say for the people that are, I don't know what year people are on this call, but if you're in that like 6 to 8 months, like just hold out. I think it will turn a little bit where you feel less freaked out about not knowing what you don't know. And then about 5 or 6, at least for me, for 5 to 6 years in, and some of my coworkers here, that you can see like a level of confidence that happens after a few years in, where you're just like, okay, I kind of have seen a lot of things, or I've seen a lot of parts of a case, or maybe parts of a deal, that you can kind of get a sense of what other types of things would be like.
That's a great segue to Bobby's original question
Yes, yes.
about, level differentiation. I think one big thing for me is that absolutely there are no like defined tiers about what a mid-level or a senior associate is. But I notice when associates are becoming more and more senior, when they are delegating more and teaching newer associates more. And to me, I think that's a really important job responsibility, and professional responsibility. Like as you become a more and more experienced lawyer, is to teach less experienced lawyers what to be doing, and that includes how to teach, or that includes teaching like younger lawyers how to teach even younger lawyers. Because we enter this job, I was a KJD. I had no management experience, and day one on the job, they're like, you now manage assistant, practice assistant, paralegals, discovery teams. You manage, uh, yeah, copy folks. There's just large teams that you now tell them what to do or you delegate tasks to, and you're really bad at it. Really, really, really bad. I was so bad at it. I got sent to remedial training. They were like, you need a coach because you're a horrible person. Um, and so if you get taught how to teach, and you do some teaching, to me that really symbolizes or like signals that you're progressing in your career in a really important way and paying it forward.
On the different levels, I agree that someone who can there's this foundation of being able to, at least in litigation, knowing how to write, how to read, and research and analyze cases, and then knowing how to do some of the stand-up things that are foundational, that I think are super important. Um, and there are a lot of very, very good writers who come out of law school and they can do the writing, but this is a business. So the people that know how to manage people, that know how to communicate expectations to a client, communicate things to a court. That's a difficult skill that just because you're a good writer doesn't mean you can do those things. And so someone who starts to transform and is able, and it doesn't, you don't even have to be like a seventh year or whatever. You might be able to start showing those skills even young, and I think it's important to start doing that. I have first year associates on calls with clients all the time, so I think, talking back to what Allison was saying earlier, it can be very valuable to be on these calls with clients, even if you're not billing for it, because you're seeing how other people do it. And you learn what is a good way to do it, what's not a good way to do it. And so those things are super valuable, because this is not just this job is not a doing the substantive work. It's a business, it's a service, it's that's what you're doing. And so that's a different skill set that you need to be able to hone as well. And you have to practice in order to get good at it.
The
That's
only thing
great. Oh, yeah, go, Allison.
the only thing I have to add is sometimes your role on a case or deal may ebb and flow. There may be some cases where you are one of 20. And in that case, you might be a fourth year, but you're still doing some doc review and you think, oh, I should have aged out of this. But you kind of need to know your place. And some deals, you may be the first or second year and you're kicking way up because there's nobody in the middle, or the alternative where you've got a lot of people on a deal and you've got to kind of do something that you were doing last year, the year before, that you think is a little bit more junior. And just make sure you keep that in mind. I don't think you're more advanced than that. Someone's put you on the deal because they need you, or put you on the case because they need your skill set, or they just need hands, and that's just a reality of the job sometimes.
For sure. Context is important.
Mhm.
And Hayden, watch these moderating skills. We have a second question from the audience. Kylan is asking thoughts on balancing saying no to partners with managing your workload and prioritizing matters.
Um, Wait, really quick plus one to what Allison just said though before I answer that. Like I hate when if any lawyers at any level think they're like too senior to do any task. Like every lawyer does every kind of task. I literally yesterday reviewed documents and ran compare docs. Like that's what lawyers do. So no task is like above or below you. Well, some tasks are definitely above me, but yeah, certainly I'm not too good for anything. And I think that's a really important mentality. So I totally agree, Allison. Uh, Saying no, I don't want to answer this one. I'm a terrible. I
I'm out of Big Law, so I'm happy to answer this one.
Yes.
I think this is a political thought process that you need to have personally. And if you're going to say no to the same person repeatedly, realize that that is noticed. Um, and they may never come back to you if they get a second no because someone may write you off. Um, and then there are everybody will know this in the office. There are different partners with different businesses, different managerial roles. All of those things kind of need to be taken into consideration. And instead of saying no, I would suggest when do you need this? This is what's on my plate. I would really like to do this. Um, Help me think through reshuffling things so that I can get to it. Um, because like I said, the no's do get noticed, and that's just the way it is. And you want to be very careful about how often you're doing it and to who.
So I think I completely agree. I hardly said no the first couple of years, and I know that's really, really hard, but I wanted to get as much experience as I could from as many people as I could because I wanted to learn everybody's different style, their different cases, and it was really, really tough, but and I think everybody on this call probably did that too. And I think if you're on this call, you're probably prone to want to do that. But I just think putting in those first few years of effort will really pay off. And it'll also show that you have some credibility that if you're a third or fourth year and you do say, and first of all, I will say, don't ever say no. And it's kind of what Allison was saying. Don't ever say, like, no, I can't. I would say no in a political way. And, but after you've done years of yes, yes, I'll do it, when you do make that first political no, people really understand, okay, they probably actually don't have time because you've already built that rapport with everybody in the office that you are the type of person that says yes if you have time, and you must really not have time if you can't do it. And I would do the same thing that Allison said, like, hey, I have this going on. When do you need it by? Can I get to you in a couple weeks, or is this something that I can join in a month after these deadlines are done? People will start to get what you're saying without feeling offended by it.
That was so good. I think that's objectively the right answer. There's no room for other opinions. That I completely agree.
Case closed. There we go.
Like that's exactly right. Yeah.
Thinking about how an associate's mindset from junior to mid to senior, a couple of questions ago, evolves over time is a great reminder that perspective is everything. And that brings me to our next topic, gratitude. Finding things to be grateful for can shift your energy, improve your outlook, and even change your trajectory by impacting the ways you relate to your work and your colleagues. So I'd love to hear, when you look back as your time as an associate, what were you grateful for, or what do you miss?
I liked the camaraderie with associates. I thought the late nights were kind of fun sometimes, not all the time, but again, this was a pre-COVID thing, so I don't know what it's like anymore, especially in Big Law because I'm at a much smaller firm these days. But we used to, at 7 o'clock, if we were still there, we ordered dinner and we all sat around and ate. And even when we were there late, it was kind of fun. It was kind of, like law school finals studying. And that was really fun. And you're all going through this shared experience that's hard. Um, but you make really good relationships with people, and those relationships will carry through the entirety of your career. At my firm I currently work at, I got recruited here by someone I worked with at my first firm. I brought somebody over from a firm I had worked at, and just recently hired another person I'd worked with at my first firm. So these relationships really do carry on for a very long time. So it's good to get to know everybody, have fun, enjoy it as much as you can, knowing that it's tough. But that makes a lot of the drudgery worth it. And then when you're a partner, it's a little bit different. You're probably, you've got more of a life outside of the office that you've got to manage. You're not, having dinners together or lunches together. You're kind of, doing as much as you can in as little time in the office or as little time in front of your computer as you can. So really do miss out on that. So try to enjoy it the best you can while you're there.
That seems like an age thing, Allison. I think that's just like us.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm, think Thinking about the earlier days and what it was like before you had to worry about bedtimes.
Like, bath time at 6. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree. For my bath time, yeah, for me at 6. I I have found I'm only a second year partner, so I'm not that distant. I really have not found my partner experience to be that different from my associate experience. I still have bosses on bosses, other partners and clients that I work for, and I think that if you're going to like being outside counsel as a partner based off of your experience as an associate. It's not like you get promoted and then you're like, holy God, it's like a totally different job. I think there's just more pressure, like to bring in work, and there's pressure on your compensation in different ways, and there's political pressures about how you share credits and how you interact with people. I mean, there's all these like weird dynamics that get added, but the substantive work and what you're doing most of the time is very, very similar. And so I don't miss a ton from being an associate because I feel like I get to still do a lot of that stuff minus the late night drinking and partying that Allison apparently that we both gave up. Yeah.
I would just add there's a bunch of admin headaches that I'm going through. It's very at the top of my mind. I just spent the past 3 days revising bills significantly, and that's not, I mean, it's not billable. It's taking a lot of time out of my day, but it's very important, and I need to do it. And um, I don't like that. I don't like taxes. Taxes are not simple when you're not just like a normal employee of a company. Um, so, but I agree with Hayden. My day-to-day job is basically the same, and I think that is correct if you start showing those partner level skills as you continue to improve yourself, because it's not like all of a sudden I became a partner and then they were like, okay, now you are managing clients. Nothing changed from the day before I became partner, the day after. I was still doing the things I'm doing today. And so that's a good sign that you're kind of ready, is because you're showing the skills already. It's just this other stuff that I could live without, that I don't want to do. So
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. We have another question from the audience, and time permitting, this may be our last. We'll see how long it takes. But Allison asks, as a junior associate, how would you recommend effectively communicating client deadlines or deliverables that may require following up with a senior associate or partner on an item they are reviewing, while being mindful of that senior associate or partner's own workload and priorities?
I know
I have
Allison.
I was going to say, so do I.
I have a really strong feelings about this. Um, I don't think you can bother, and also I think, one, I will say it's probably person specific, but I will say most of the time I want to be bothered over and over and over again because I'm not paying attention. I might have seen your email the first time and I said I'll get back to it. And I think I was so frustrated when I was junior and I would send somebody a brief that I needed them to review or send to a client, and I'm like, why aren't they reading it? Or they would email me 2 hours later and say, hey, where is that? And I'm like, I sent it to you 2 hours ago. How did you not see it? But now that I'm here, I'm have a lot more empathy for my seniors, and I'm like, you just miss things, or you look at it and you say, I'll get back to it, and you forget. And one of my favorite associates that I work with is so good at making sure I don't make myself look stupid in front of a client. And so he is amazing at being like, hey, by the way, you still haven't done that thing. And I'm like, when is that due? And he's like, tomorrow. And I'm like, thank you for final. And he knows to email me a few times. And then if I don't answer emails, to text me. And then if I don't answer the text, to come to my office. Like, he will find me and make sure I don't look like an idiot. And so I think most people are fine with being reminded over and over again. I don't really care if you fill up my inbox. It doesn't matter to me. And maybe somebody does care, but I think most people just don't want to look look bad.
I
Totally.
feel like Allison was asking me this directly. I work with her. Uh, no, I agree. I used to think as an associate, like early on, I was bothering somebody and I'd be like, well, obviously, it's not important to you if you're not answering me. And then I realized, no, there are just pings and dings and emails and things that come up every, 7 minutes. And so you're trying to finish something and you just keep getting bombarded with other things. So having someone who's just continuously, following up and remind you is so helpful because a lot of times truly it just you forget other things come up that are more important. Someone calls, an email, whatever it is. So if you feel like you're bugging, you probably are, and that's a good thing. Because we need it, especially like I don't have a designated secretary to remind me things or an admin assistant. So for me, it has to be associates who are doing the follow-ups. So it's a good thing and definitely um, need to be doing it, especially as you're seeing like the deadline getting closer and closer.
I think we can do one more. So to close us out, let's do the topic that everyone is talking about, which is AI. We all know that AI can be helpful and that it carries risks. How do you think associates should approach AI in their day-to-day work?
Um, I think it's pretty firm dependent, and there are a lot of firm rules about what you should and shouldn't be doing. At Perkins, we are like super AI heavy. We have like, I don't even know. There's a page with 6 different things, tools to use. My feeling is that associates who aren't actively using the tools now will sort of be left behind a bit. Um, and certainly the partners will be too. And associates generally will be more uh, I don't know, impactful with the tools and teach partners generally how to use tools better than partners can teach themselves. Um, and so I would be asking partners first, like, are you okay with me using this tool for this purpose in this case and seeing what happens? Obviously, I'll check all the sites and do all the ethical things I need to do, but kind of coach upstream on how to integrate AI in a practice. And I think a lot of firms and a lot of lawyers are already using Gen AI in a lot of different ways now, and clients are absolutely demanding it. So if other lawyers are doing it and you're not doing it, and that's the direction the practice is headed over the next 5 years, I think you could become pretty irrelevant if you're year 6, 7, and you've never worked with any Gen AI product. And I used it absolutely this morning to generate an outline for a witness interview that I conducted this morning. So it's like an every single day kind of thing now. So my advice is get very, very comfortable very, very quickly and coach up.
And with that said, make sure you're not relying on it to the exclusion of using your own skill set. If someone asks you to do research, don't type it into AI, copy and paste and send it on to somebody else. That's not helpful because we can all type the questions into to ChatGPT, Google, Lexis, whatever it is, ourselves. And often AI reads like AI. So whoever is getting it can tell that you didn't write any of it. Um, and so that just kind of shows that you took kind of the easy way out. You need to be able to use it, and then build on top of it, make you better. Which means, use it first and then, okay, what is the AI telling me? What should I look up? How do I rewrite this so it sounds like a human and not AI? And make sure that you can talk intelligently about anything you're presenting to somebody else. Because like I said, if you just copy and paste and send something along in, 30 minutes when it would take a reasonable person, a few hours, that's not helpful and doesn't really make you doesn't make you look as good as you could if you took that and then spent the other 2 hours following up, rewriting it, diving a little bit deeper so that you can answer a question, or this is something you could present outside.
Great. That brings us to the end of our panel. A big thank you to our panelists for sharing such thoughtful, honest insights, and to all of you for joining us today. We hope the conversation gave you something useful to take back to your practice. For those seeking CLE credit, the course number is now in the chat. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.